please.
Madam Chair and members, Senate Bill 1556 establishes a regulatory framework for the manufacture, distribution, and sale of adult hemp beverages under the liquor statute and authority of the Department of Liquor Licenses and Control. The bill allows the liquor department to issue an adult hemp beverages manufacturer license, including to any licensed producer or craft producer. Farm wineries, microbreweries, and craft distillers may manufacture up to 20,000 gallons of adult hemp beverages per year. The manufacturer of adult hemp beverages must have all products tested by an independent testing laboratory that is permitted by the liquor department to determine product potency and safety in regards to potential contaminants. The bill also requires labeling and packaging requirements to include prescribed information, including the expiration date, ingredients, potency, and warning labels. The bill outlines volume and potency limits for single-serving and multi-serving adult hemp beverage containers. The bill authorizes wholesale licenses, the privilege to deal in adult hemp beverages, and authorizes certain retail licenses, the privilege to sell adult hemp beverages. The bill incorporates adult hemp beverages into various regulatory requirements for spirituous liquor, including the prohibition of sales to persons under 21 years of age. The bill establishes a new luxury tax classification for adult hemp beverages and ready-to-drink beverages at a rate of $1.50 per gallon. The bill outlines requirements for existing liquor licensees to apply and be granted the adult hemp beverage privilege, and for initial licensing applications before the adoption of applicable rules. A grace period of 90 days after the effective date is provided for wholesalers and retailers to sell any adult hemp beverages in their inventory as of the effective date before being subject to forfeiture and destruction. Finally, the bill appropriates $1 million in fiscal year 2026 from the Liquor Licenses Fund to the Liquor Department for regulating adult hemp beverages. Happy to answer any questions.
Members, any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Jason. Mr. Shope.
Oh, that was you'd think this is a long bill if you listen to that explanation. All right, TJ Shope, Legislative District 16, just for the record here. Bring this bill forward to you today in the hopes of sparking a discussion on something that is already happening in the state of Arizona. I believe that if you are, go into any, Total Wine, for example, or other large business that is essentially mainly in the realm of adult beverages, you're going to find these items in a store already. And I think for myself, as many of you know, my family operated, and I had the pleasure of running our grocery business for the last handful of years of our 75-year run in Coolidge. And we have been in the business of selling these age-gated, if you will, products for that entire time. So I know the industry very well, especially for our items that obviously require a minimum age and some additional regulation. I think it is, since these items are out there, we have to have a serious conversation about how we are going to properly regulate what we know is an intoxicating adult beverage, just like we currently regulate liquor or beer or wine in the state of Arizona. And I think that this bill does that, and it's something that I believe we should explore further. We know that hemp-derived THC is being sold, as I mentioned. We have no idea really what the quality control is currently of these products, and I think that that's something that we try to address in this bill. We need to have transparency for our customers, and more transparency than just going to the store and it's marked with a sign that says it tastes good, it must be fine. So that's one of the other reasons for the bill. We feel like we've done this right. We've been working closely together, and I think that you're going to hear from several people in this, in not just this industry, but also from the others who are regulated by DLC, as well as the folks in the other cannabis industries that exist. One of the themes, even if they are not necessarily fully in favor of this particular piece of legislation, is that it needs to be regulated in some way, shape, or form. And most of those folks are already regulated by the by state government in some way, many in DLC, and then others via Department of Health, but they will agree with you, even if they don't agree with the particulars of the bill, that there needs to be some regulation in this sphere. The companies that make the product that we're talking about, that distribute the product and sell the product, are regulated, as I mentioned, by DLLC, and I think it makes most sense for that entity to regulate these. So I hope that you will join me in continuing. I had a bill yesterday that I mentioned this, and I mean this with all sincerity. I think you're going to, after it passes this committee, you're going to continue to see it be worked on. The people that are here are going to be the folks that I continue to work with throughout the rest of this session to bring something that we can send to the governor's office that I believe will have a positive impact. But the reality to keep in mind as we're doing this is that these items are being sold currently, and there is no regulatory sphere for these items that are being sold. And I'm not trying to knock any business that's doing it. I'm not asking for the AG's office or the police or the sheriff's office to go in and conduct a raid, Elliott Ness style, at any of these businesses. But the reality is that the leaders of those agencies are not currently doing so, even though these products are being sold without regulation. What does that tell you? The political will probably isn't there to do that. They know that there's a consumer base being born out of this, much like we saw with Uber and Lyft and later other kind of game changers to industry. You'll see the same thing happen here. That's why this body exists, to figure out the best way to bring some of these items into regulation so we have safe products to sell to consenting adults that want to go ahead and have a good Friday night or whatever they want to do with these items. So with that, I'm happy to answer questions. I know that there are plenty of people signed in to speak, and if it pleases the chair, I'll just hang out over here, and if I possibly come up to offer closing statements after they've spoken.
Sounds great. Members, do you have any questions for the bill sponsor?
Quiet time.
Great.
All right.
Mr. Carroll.
All right, Madam Chair, first one up, we have Steve Barkley.
Can you drink this on a boat?
Madam Chair, before I begin my remarks, may I have my able-bodied assistant, Steve Kaiser, bring up some samples?
Yes, please. Yeah,
Can we consume them?
we're not opening them. You can look at the cans. We are not opening them.
Darn.
Feel free to pass them along.
You're welcome to them after the committee's over, I suppose.
Yes.
Madam
What's
Chair,
in their office, but not here.
well,
Lemon lavender.
let me, should I wait for this to?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll wait for a second.
Don't take that one.
It's gonna be a hit piece against you now that you
Hey,
just
hey,
raised
there's,
it.
there's an age limit on that bottle, you know.
Thanks.
Oh, yeah,
Interesting. You wanna see it?
For contrast,
Let me see.
here you go.
I'm so sorry.
Who was jealous? Brian wanted to see that one.
Variety of samples.
There's an age
No,
limit on
it's
this, you
Mr.
can't have.
Kaiser, so.
What's the age?
Says it right on there. Thanks, Steve, you're really nice.
As soon as we get to Senator Ortiz, we're gonna let you speak. Thanks for being here.
Sorry, snooze you lose.
You might wanna move that. You might wanna move that. I'll put that right in front of your. There we go. Thanks.
Madam Chairman and members, thank you. For the record, I'm Steve Barclay, here for the Beer and Wine Distributors of Arizona Statewide Trade Association for the wholesaler tier. I want to thank you, Madam Chairman, for hearing the bill, and thanks Senator Shope. He made some great comments, and he's a wonderful bill sponsor. We appreciate it. Our association strongly supports SB 1556 as a responsible and fair solution to the public safety concerns that are going to grow in this state for unregulated sale of intoxicating THC-infused hemp beverages to consumers across Arizona. These products are out there. They're out there online, they're out there in the stores, and they're only going to continue to grow. The products, they're not illegal, and that's the issue. But there's no age verification going on. There's no product testing. There's no product labeling, and no limits on the THC levels that are in the products. Those are all important factors. No state agency, as Senator Shope mentioned, is exercising regulatory jurisdiction. over these products. Remember, they don't contain alcohol, so they're not in the province of the liquor department right now. They're not subject to taxation. In short, there's nobody keeping a watchful eye on this. We have a Wild West environment out here in the market, and as a matter of public policy, we suggest it needs to be addressed. So what to do with hemp beverages? There are really two options. You can either try to prohibit them, or you can try to regulate them. Being in the alcohol world, we know something about prohibition, and it doesn't work. And I don't think it would work for hemp beverages, quite frankly. Instead, we think the sensible solution is to regulate them. And when it comes to adult beverages, we think that the liquor department and Title IV is the way to go, because that's what we do and do well. And we've been doing it a long time. And that way we can put these products through proper testing, through proper labeling, make them only available to people 21 and over, have limitations on how and when they're served, have server training that the department would oversee the process of having servers trained like we do for alcohol, and put them on a level playing field as we do beer, wine, spirits, seltzer, brandy, cider, kombucha, and other popular adult beverages. Staff, Jason did a great job explaining the bill's moving parts. I'd be happy to answer any questions about them. We have a strong coalition of people that are here today supporting this bill: the craft brewers, craft distillers, farm wineries, the Licensed Beverage Association, and then leaders from the hemp industry who came in town, the Hemp Beverage Alliance, and locally HIDA, which is the Hemp Industry Trade Association.
Madam Chair.
Now, last thing I'll say is, not everybody likes
Time,
this bill,
time. Hold on.
and we understand that, but your job, quite frankly, is to protect consumers, not to protect against new competition. Thank you.
Mr. Fernandez, I see that you're jumping at the bit to
Well,
ask
no, I
a
mean,
question.
because I thought the time was up.
I see.
Mr. Buckley, can you tell me real quickly, so you said these are for sure, it's legal to sell these right now?
Yes, because of the 28, Madam Chairman, sorry, excuse me, Senator Fernandez, yes, because of the 2018 Farm Bill, these are hemp-derived products.
Okay, and Madam Chair, if I could, can you, one thing that I didn't hear anyone so far talk about, well, only you and Mr. Shope, there's the tax component of this, and it's going to change a tax that seems completely unrelated to these products. Can you tell us about that?
Yes.
Doesn't seem to
Yeah.
be something you want to talk about.
Madam Chairman, Senator Fernandez, thank you for the question. Yes, if you go back to pages 113 through 121 of the bill, you'll see luxury tax provisions. Other alcohol products we collect a luxury tax, which is a type of excise tax. It's collected at the wholesaler level. So again, to put these products on an even playing field, we're going to tax them at that level too. We're suggesting, obviously subject to your final decision on this, a luxury tax of $1.50, which falls pretty much in the middle between the higher tax rates for spirits and the lower tax rates for beer. That's $1.50 a gallon. When we talk to folks down here, particularly the folks in appropriations and others, they suggested that we look for a way to do an offset to the tax so that we didn't have to do a Prop 108. And so what we came up with, because we've had this issue kicking around out there for the last 6 or 7 years, is the idea that spirit-based RTDs, which are ready to drink like a vodka soda or a margarita in a can that has spirits but also has mixer in it, is taxed at the $3 a gallon rate. So what we're doing is taking that tax down to $1.50. That's been a bill that's come up over and over again. It was going to come up again this year. So we use that as the offset.
So, Madam Chair, if I could, and I get that this was, a marriage, and so then you get more people in your coalition to argue for this, but did you explore any other places where we might be able to offer some level of tax relief if that was in fact what we need to do, or was it just like, here's a gift to someone and they've got the most needy hand?
Madam Chairman, Senator Fernandez, we didn't do an exhaustive look beyond that because that one resonated with people. There's folks that want to pursue that legislation, so we felt it had a certain sense of inevitability about it, that it was coming on the RTD tax side to do a cut. And so it became, I think, a matter of expediency to do that. We could look at lowering all alcohol taxes, and that would have the same effect of being an offset, but people might like that less, is what we thought.
Are you good?
I'm okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Epstein?
Great, thanks. Madam Chair, Steve, since you've brought visual aids today, thank you very much. Would you
Yes.
talk to us a little bit about the labels, and the labeling requirement on, the bill, what does the bill require in labeling?
Madam Chair, Senator Epstein, glad to do that. Let me pull out my right page numbers and refer to that. It would be page 73 of the bill,
73.
and actually 74, forgive me. And it starts on line 23, and it goes down to the bottom of the page, line 42, and then it crosses over to the next page and goes all the way down to line 11. I can read those if you'd like me to,
Well,
but
some
it's,
specific things, if I may, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'm looking for would be, does it require a very clear, the THC is in here, and what?
Madam
so
Chair.
talk to me just about that, if I'm a consumer, you know, this one's not bad, it's got a great big THC with an exclamation point, I think that's kind of nice. What does this bill require?
Madam Chair, Senator, thank you for the question.
Yeah.
It has a requirement that, a statement that the product contains hemp-derived THC, and that consumption of THC may impair your ability to drive or operate heavy machinery. A statement to keep out of the reach of children and pets. A statement that the product is intended only for persons 21 years of age or older. There are other, labeling requirements. I'm just getting to the ones that pertain to your question. A statement that consuming adult hemp beverage products may result in a failed drug test. A statement that this product has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And I would point out, Madam Chair, Senator, that what you're seeing on a lot of products is, made from healthy ingredients or other things like that. So this would prevent those kind of statements to be made on the can, and I think that's got a good benefit as well.
Great.
And Senator,
and then-
we're open to, if there's improvements that we can make to this, we took the best ideas from other states that have done this. There's several states that have passed laws like this, and we copied the very best ideas we could.
And, Madam Chair,
One more?
and as I understand it, Madam Chair, that Steve, the bill puts a limit on the maximum THC level. Can you talk to me about how that's gonna work, and is it also included in the labeling requirements?
Madam Chair, to answer your second part of the question, Senator, first, yes, it is. It would have to state the amount of THC in the product. We put a limit on a single serving container of 10 milligrams. And that is the limit regardless of the size of the container. So even if it's a bigger container, it still can't have more than 10 milligrams. That bottle you see there by Senator Carroll is what would be considered a multi-serve container. It's I believe it's a 750 milliliter size, and that is akin to a gin or a vodka in alcohol. It doesn't have any alcohol in it, of course, but it's meant to be used as a multi-serving container to be poured into with a mixer and served as a mixed drink. So that would be that size of a product with a resealable lid would be allowed to go up to 30 milligrams for a liter size container. So less for a 750 milliliter.
Mr. Leach?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve, would you address there's drinks on the market where you add your own additives, and would you address how that's growing in the marketplace? I mean, is that in the C-stores already, where you buy the base can and then it says probably add one packet, but you can add as much as you want, I would think, correct? Would you,
Correct.
Or just straighten me out on that issue.
Senator, thank you for the question, Madam Chair. Senator, today in the marketplace, and we have people that can speak probably more to what's out there in the marketplace writ large, but I know there are powdered forms of this. There are tincture forms that you could add to a beverage, and we've heard of places, coffee shop type places in Tempe that will infuse it on the spot, pump it into your drink. That's kind of scary to me because who knows how much is being pumped in. But in our bill, we don't allow that. We don't allow powdered, we don't allow tincture, and those are additional, we think, safeguards beyond the amount of milligrams. A lot of products out there with higher than 10 milligrams. So we're trying to take baby steps with this. We're trying to start at a lower level. If somebody wants something stronger than that, they can go to a dispensary and buy something stronger. But and maybe they can buy those other products too, Senator. But in terms of being in the beverage part of it, we for years have had a prohibition on powdered alcohol or other forms of alcohol. You can't, have sort of inhaled alcohol and things like that. Believe it or not, people try that stuff. So we've had to address those over the years. So we're trying to, again, put these products on the same kind of clear pathway on par with alcoholic beverages, treated the same, subject to the same rules.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you. Steve, are you aware of any guidance that the FDA has on THC being allowed in food or beverage?
Madam Chair, Senator, I know there's guidance out there. I couldn't quote it to you. You probably have it here in front of you.
I do, because
there's clearly conflicting laws out there between state and federal on this. But I will say that the states have continued to enact laws to regulate these products in a responsible way. And bear in mind, they're out there now, and nobody's doing anything about it, and we're suggesting something be done about it.
Well, Madam Chair, so I'm more concerned about what Arizona does. I don't really care what California does, but the FDA, and I'm quoting here on their website, is not aware of any basis to conclude that CBD is generally recognized as safe among qualified experts for its use in human or animal food. There is also no food additive regulation which authorizes use of CBD as an ingredient in human food or animal food, and it goes on. I'm a little concerned about this, and then previously in the previous paragraph it talks about it not being allowed in interstate commerce, and I understand that some states are doing this. I just don't know. I'm aware that it's happening here. I think that just because things are happening doesn't mean that they should be happening. There's a lot of things that are happening that shouldn't be happening, I should say. Are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with us jumping ahead when the FDA has guidance that this might not be
Madam
beneficial?
Chair, Senator, I'm comfortable with this framework. I'm not comfortable in the absence of this framework, and that's why, as I started my testimony, I said, I think respectfully, it's time to consider doing something, and that something could be a ban, and that's your prerogative if that's what you choose to do. We think that's a tough sell, and it's tough. Other states have tried to do that and have found that these are popular products, and particularly in states that authorize, legal recreational marijuana, it's out there. So, I think that the more responsible solution, and we can continue to work on what that solution looks like, Senator, is to regulate it and give somebody responsibility for policing it. Right now, there's nobody that's responsible for policing it, and the FDA isn't either. And so, it doesn't give me great comfort that we don't know the answers to some of those things, Senator. Great question. But I think, that shouldn't paralyze us from doing something.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Barclay.
Thank you.
Mr.
All
Carroll.
right. Madam Chair, next we have Laura Magnus. Sign in against the bill. State your name for the record and who you're representing, and we'll start the timer.
One moment, Steve's tall. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Laura Magnus. I'm here today on behalf of both Mark Anthony Brewing and Shatterproof in opposition to this bill. First and foremost, I'm going to address some of the questions that have come up, so I actually have some clarity and answers to that. But I want to talk first and foremost, we don't believe Department of Liquor is the appropriate place for this to be. We think there is already a regulatory structure in place in the state, and the appropriate place for it to be is in Department of Health Services. The other thing we want to say is THC Delta 9 is THC Delta 9. There's a lot of questions. I can speak to the Farm Bill. I can speak to some of the FDA questions in that. But the proponents of the bill are acting like this needs to be regulated, and we agree with that. You can find agreement to that. We were not part of the stakeholder process. I don't believe there was one. This did not come up in the liquor omnibus conversations. And with your permission, Madam Chair, I have some handouts. I also brought visual aids.
Yes, please.
That I'd like to distribute to the committee. Thank you. So I kind of want to walk you through. So you're right, these are being sold. It's in Total Wine, but this isn't limited to beverages. I'll start talking about the beverages first. So on the first handout that I'm sending around, I want to talk about the potency of these. And so Wink is one of the products that you can find in Total Wine right now. You go on their website, they clearly state that in the facts and FAQ page, is this product the same product that's sold in dispensaries? They say yes. It's on their website. This chart that I'm handing out first is actually also on their website, and it speaks to the potency. So Mr. Barclay just mentioned that this can go up to 10 milligrams. According to their chart, that's equivalent to 4 shots of liquor. And 2 is 2 shots of liquor. The second page, it was also talking about pumping into the drinks. That's a Wake and Bakery in Tempe, apparently. So this picture shows you what you can get at their facility. So you can get 1 marijuana leaf up to 5. The 5 is 100 milligrams. This bill does nothing to address the fact that you can go into a store and buy not just a drink with up to 100 milligrams. You can also, which according to Wink's chart, I mean, by basic math, that's what, 40 shots of liquor? So that's concerning. And then on the last page, you'll see the FDA expressing concerns around some of these controlled substances. This doesn't do anything to address gummies. It doesn't do anything to address other food products. And so those are all grave concerns. We think that this is already a controlled substance, and we believe there is a regulatory structure for that, and we agree it needs to be addressed. We find it very inappropriate that it would be under a Department of Liquor. I believe this is a Department of Health and Public Safety issue, and that is the appropriate place for it to be. And then I am happy to answer some questions about the Farm Bill that came up. So in 2018, they did pass provisions within the
Time.
Farm.
Madam
Members
Chair.
have questions? Yes,
Yeah.
Mr. Fernandez.
Well, and I similar question to what I asked Mr. Barclay, kind of about the Farm Bill. First of all, about the Farm Bill, how it pertains to this, and then secondly, about what the FDA specifically states about it, the guidance of use.
Yeah.
So you start with the Farm Bill, please.
Yeah, so first, in 2018, the Farm Bill explicitly preserved FDA's authority to regulate products containing cannabis-derived compounds under the FDCA. And if you go to the FDA website, which it looks like you did, and you look, it says clearly that they have not authorized any of these uses, and the specific language says FDA has therefore concluded that it is prohibited act to introduce or deliver for introduction into interstate commerce any food to which THC CBD has been added. So there is a question there. When they passed the exemption, that language in the 2018 Farm Bill, it was for textiles, right? That's why it was by weight. It was different. That was the purpose of the exemption. And at that time, you could not get THC from hemp. We weren't doing that, right? Like science changes, things change. If you look at what happened in May 28th of 2024 in Congress, in the Agriculture Committee, in the markup, they actually closed the loop and it passed with bipartisan support. And then they also put that language into the appropriation bill they then passed. Now, have they finished passing it? No. But it does seem that the intent of Congress is to close that loop. And the bill would redefine the existing statutory definition of hemp by replacing language basing the legal limits for hemp on its delta-9 THC concentration, instead basing the definition on hemp's total THC concentration.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, and going back to a different way that we could be doing this, since THC can be derived from either marijuana, right, or cannabis, and I don't know a lot about this, so you're going to have to but wouldn't it make sense that this would be under the same provisions that we have under our marijuana legislation currently, that the voter protected one for that, that it would be taxed similarly and just sort of governed the same way, which I think is HHS or regulated by the HHS.
Madam Chair, Senator, I would agree. So I didn't know anything about this till about a week and a half ago. So I pulled the definition because I wanted to see what the clear definition that was passed in Prop 207 is. And it makes it very clear, and I'm actually looking at the opinion from Attorney General Mays here because she cited it. And the recreational use law defines marijuana to mean all parts of the plant of the genus cannabis, which basically means any of the cannabis plants, right? Whether growing or not, as well as the seeds from the plant, the resin extracted from any part of the plant, and every compound, manufacture, salt, derivative, mixture, or preparation of the plant or its seeds or resin, ARS 36-285019. To me, it seems pretty clear that the voters have already defined what marijuana is, and it's the whole plant. And my understanding, hemp is part of that same plant.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
If I may.
Yeah.
This piece that you handed here is talking about food.
Correct.
Okay, if I understand correctly, this bill is talking about a beverage product?
Yes, Madam Chair, Senator.
So, and your first sheet about the relationship between how many milligrams and how many, let's just say, shots or glasses of wine.
Yes.
That is, I mean, that speaks for itself, okay?
Yes.
All right, but
Why
do you
this?
have anything in here that talks about copycat beverages and stuff like that that kids like or would be attracted to?
No, Madam
Okay,
Chair,
thank you.
Senator, the purpose, that is a fair point, and this also talks mostly about Delta 8, which is not covered in this bill.
Okay.
The purpose of that was that I think the products, other products are available, and it's a broader issue. And so what I'm suggesting is that if we're gonna regulate something, especially this is the, like, government efficiency, right? We already have a regulatory structure. We shouldn't just be regulating beverages. It's a broader discussion in which we should cover all of the hemp-derived THC Delta 9, which is THC Delta 9, similarly that's sold in dispensaries.
And Madam Chair, to that point, is there legislation you're aware of that talks to the broader picture? Because this is a narrow piece of legislation. You're talking about beverages, so, and I understand the
Yeah.
concern with the
Yeah.
food products and that, but I'm just right off the top of my head, I can't think of a bill that's running right now to speak to that subject, or are you aware of one?
Madam Chair, Senator, I know Mr. Gowan has a bill. I'm not familiar with the details. I'd have
Okay.
to look at the scope of that.
I'll check.
But no.
Madam Chair, to
I
that.
think Ms. Epstein had her hand
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, I didn't see. Go ahead.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you had indicated that the bill does not address the fact that you can buy a drink with up to 100 mil of something, but anyway, but let's talk about the strength of so the bill would allow for 10 milligrams per container roughly.
Yep.
And you are saying that equates to the buzz or the intoxication of 4 shots? Is that, how do you,
Yeah,
how
so
do you
Madam
make that
Chair, Senator
equivalency?
Epstein, that is not my chart. That
Okay.
chart I pulled directly from Wink's website.
Okay.
They are the product, and they are being sold in Total Wine, and this is one of the products that's available out there. So I did not come up with this chart. I do not know the potency, but they are marketing it and advertising it as it has this. So this is directly from their website.
Madam Chair,
I'm gonna let Leach jump in first, and then Brian, and then you. Sorry, Mr. Fernandez. Whatever.
Thank you. Laura, thank you for being here and jumping in the middle of this. Quick question. Does your company, the companies that you represent, do they make or are they thinking about making a product similar to this?
Madam Chair, Senator Leach, I represent Mark Anthony Brewing, so White Claw, we have a big facility out in the West Valley. They are a Canadian-based company. They had this opportunity a long time ago. The company has made a decision they do not want to enter this market.
And there was one other company that you said you represented?
Yes, so I also represent, Madam Chair, Senator Leach, I represent Shatterproof. Shatterproof is a nonprofit that focuses on substance use disorders and addiction. And so they have concerns about the regulatory structure and a lot of that. It was proposed that this was that some of the opposition was around competition. We don't want to enter that market, but I do think it's about competition. I think it's about the beer and wine distributors wanting to be able to not just sell this THC Delta 9, because it is popular. It's a $30 billion industry, not just in dispensaries. They want to be able to sell it elsewhere. So it is about competition, but it's not
Madam
from
Chair,
us.
Laura, I think it's very, very dangerous to go out and to assume what everybody's thinking. And if
Madam-
and I would say that same thing if that industry got up and tried to guess, because I've known you long enough, I don't know what goes on in there, but, and that's a compliment, okay?
No, yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Magnus, is the fear with, could this be a fear that because this bill doesn't touch these food products that I'm looking at, and I've seen a lot of these, I've seen candies that look like candies from yesteryear, that if we do this, which just as Mr. Buckley said, seems to be what people have been asking for, the ready to drink, for instance, this is that, for 6 years, and it was going to happen, so let's just go ahead and do this now, that we're going to lose steam and no one's going to want to address this issue, and this is just going to keep being sold everywhere?
Madam Chair, Senator Fernandez, on behalf of Shatterproof, our feeling is that we believe all of these should be in dispensaries, and we should limit the access and at the most appropriate place for it to be, where you have to be 21 to enter, and that is the appropriate place to buy the products.
Ms. Ortiz.
Never mind, Madam Chair.
You sure?
Well, okay, Madam Chair, I just to put on the record, Laura, the 10 milligrams, am I correct that a 10 milligram drink is the same, the equivalent as one gummy that you could typically purchase at a dispensary, or am I not understanding that correctly?
Madam Chair, Senator Ortiz, I believe some from the dispensaries will be testifying. That is my understanding. That is the limitation for those gummies, for one gummy at a dispensary.
Okay, and Madam Chair, Laura, the gummies at dispensaries are usually sold in packages of how many?
Madam Chair, Senator, I don't know. I've never bought one.
Okay, we'll ask the Dispensary Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
All right. Madam Chair, we have Glenn McElfresh. Speaking for yourself in favor of the bill. State your name for the record and who you're representing, and then I will set the timer for 2 minutes.
1 second, sir.
Go right ahead. That table's getting a workout today.
Up and down. Chair Bullock, committee members, and Senator Shope, thank you for allowing me to testify today in support of Senate Bill 1556. My name is Glenn McElfresh, and I'm a co-founder of Plift, a hemp beverage company, and Perfectly Dosed, a supplier of cannabinoid ingredients for breweries and other hemp beverage manufacturers. I'm also the secretary for the Hemp Beverage Alliance, which includes more than 200 hemp beverage brands and ancillary businesses in the hemp beverage industry. I'm here today to emphatically support Senate Bill 1556, answer any questions, and respectfully encourage you to vote this bill out of committee. I'm also going to take a moment and address some of the comments brought up by the previous speaker, and just say that Wink is one of the most responsible brands in the hemp beverage and cannabis beverage industry today. They sell both in dispensary channel and in the hemp channel, and are advocated as an ultra low dose product. I also have a comment from their website today that says that a beer with a higher alcohol volume, like an IPA, is comparable to a single serving of 6 to 10 milligrams of THC. And I would say to that hemp beverages are a rapidly evolving regulatory environment. For background, hemp beverages began in 2023 with Minnesota's House File 100. This bill created a framework for low-dose hemp beverages with up to 10 milligrams of THC per can, and this has created over $20 million in tax revenue, hundreds, if not thousands, of good-paying jobs, and had minimal, if any, adverse public health effects. Consumer trends across the country are changing, and consumers want new non-alcoholic options that are both intoxicating and non-intoxicating, and they want to buy these products at places that they already shop, like bars, liquor stores, and restaurants. These are often the same businesses that are community pillars and exactly the right businesses to responsibly sell adult-use hemp beverages to adults. The core elements of Senate Bill 1556 allow the right Arizona businesses to shepherd in this new category. This bill limits the sale of low-dose hemp beverages to adults who are over the age of 21, and it protects kids across the state. The manufacturing and retail licensing structure would permit the great Arizona breweries, distilleries, and wineries to make these products and allow wholesalers and retailers to demonstrate the benefits of the three-tier system that we've known and trusted for almost 100 years. The revenue from the passage of this bill will generate upwards of tens of millions of dollars in net new revenue annually. And this is a world-class hemp beverage bill. And I've seen tens across the country that have passed and are currently in session across the country, including states like South Carolina,
Time.
Missouri, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia.
Madam Chair?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I did have a question. You said that Minnesota passed one in 2023.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it being regulated? Is it being regulated through their liquor control area, or is it being regulated through their health department?
Madam Chair, it is being regulated through the Office of Cannabis Management.
Thanks. Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you. So you just said that the added revenue is going to be tens of millions of dollars, but this bill was specifically written so that it would be revenue neutral. That was the whole point, to give the gift of ready to drink. So it's not really going to be tens of millions of dollars for us, right? This is just going to be revenue neutral.
Madam Chair, Senator Fernandez, that's a great question. Obviously, this bill is written to be a set-off, and I leave it to folks like Steve Barkley who can talk to that more concretely. All I'm saying is that states like Minnesota have generated tens of millions of dollars, and we could easily see that exceed a lot more than that.
Any additional questions? Great. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Chair, next we have Paley Fisher, signed in against, and looks like you're representing the Arizona Dispensaries Association. You can adjust the table down if you want.
Can you guys see me? For the record, Pele Fisher on behalf of the Arizona Dispensaries Association. I want to set the stage for a second. Unless those beverages sitting on your desk were bought in a licensed dispensary in Arizona, they are illegal. THC is THC. If anything has over 0.3% THC in it, in Arizona, it is only legally allowed to be sold in a dispensary. First, I appreciate Senator Shope's comments and really hope that we can engage in a robust stakeholder process. This introduces sweeping changes affecting alcohol, marijuana, the regulation or lack of regulation of intoxicating substance in Arizona. And despite its broad impact, there have not been any stakeholder meetings. We really should be engaging in a robust stakeholder process. When voters passed Prop 207, they clearly outlined how they wanted marijuana and THC regulated in Arizona. It's important to recognize that hemp and marijuana are the same plant, distinguished only by the THC content. Hemp was legalized for industrial purposes, rope, paper, textiles. However, any product containing more than a trace amount or 0.3% THC is marijuana under Arizona law. And this interpretation was recently reaffirmed by the Attorney General. Our state law for hemp does not mirror the federal Farm Bill. Arizona has put on its book what they believe is industrial hemp and what they believe is marijuana. Anything that has an intoxicating amount of THC is marijuana in Arizona. Furthermore, Senate Bill 1556 violates the Voter Protection Act by circumventing statutory mandates on marijuana regulation. Specifically, it allows hemp beverages containing up to 30 milligrams of THC to be sold anywhere liquor is sold.
Members, any questions? Mr. Fernandez.
Mr. Chair, so I mean, I've been going around this in my head. You know, I don't want to end an industry, but do you think that a better way of doing this is just to consider the THC part of the marijuana, the original voter-approved initiative, and just have it managed the same way, taxed the same way, regulated the same way, tested the same way? I mean, could that be done?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Fernandez, that is being done right now. Beverages with THC are being sold and regulated in dispensaries. That is the legal mechanism in order to do this. So it's happening right now. I think the solution to the problem that some people are talking about these being sold everywhere and anywhere in Arizona, is enforcement, not expanding the market into more readily available locations that children have more access to them. If someone was wanting to sell meth or cocaine or whatever that's intoxicating, I don't think you guys would be saying, let's sell it in the grocery store. I think you would be saying, how do we stop the illegal sales of these products?
But Madam Chair, would it be possible though, and I mean, I'm just playing devil's advocate for us, because I do think that I agree with you that this shouldn't be marketed to children. But like Total Wine isn't a place for children anyway. You don't,
But you can, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Madam Chairman, Senator Fernandez, I can take my kids into Total Wine. I cannot take my kids into a dispensary.
Madam Chair, can you take your kids into, your kids are older now, but could you take your kids into a liquor store?
Me?
Yeah. Can anybody?
Right now?
If they're minors.
Yeah, you can go into a liquor store with your kids. They can't obviously buy anything if they're under 21.
Okay.
And I wouldn't know about a dispensary. I've never been in one.
Well, so Madam Chair, if I could. So I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying is I feel like that could be okay, is for it to be sold in a place where, I mean, even if the kids were allowed, it was a place that was very regulated in terms of not allowing children to buy them.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, would it be possible for us to do this if we did make THC, I realize that it's happening already, but if we said that this had to be regulated by that voter initiative, which I don't remember the number now.
207.
207. And would it still be possible for us to sell it in liquor stores and Total Wines, et cetera?
Whoops, missed
Chairman Bullock, Senator Fernandez. I mean, currently under Prop 2, it could be possible, yes. I don't know if it would further the purpose of Prop 207. That would have to be something we look at. When Arizona voters passed legalization of marijuana in Arizona, they wanted a very conservative market. They wanted limited license and high regulation. They didn't want to be like Colorado or California and have a dispensary on every corner. So, I mean, we would definitely, it's possible, just like it's possible for you to legalize these beverages to be sold everywhere, but there would be some Voter Protection Act issues that would have to be looked into. But I mean, it's happening right now, but they're sold in a dispensary. And I think that that's an appropriate place. When you walk into a dispensary, one, you cannot walk in the door unless you're over 21. Two, you exactly know that you're going in there to purchase something that's THC. Look at these cans. I mean, I have seen them in smoke shops and convenience stores and elsewhere. I mean, I think right now there's no age gating or anything. They look a lot like an energy drink, a sports drink, any of those things. And there's a lack of awareness around what hemp is versus what marijuana is versus dosage. 10 milligrams is not low dose. 10 milligrams per serving size is the largest amount that a dispensary can sell. Low dose is considered like 2 milligrams. So, I mean, I'm not a user, but I could, like, from learning about this over the last however many years, 10 milligrams would, like, put me out, you know? It's not a low dose beverage that we're talking about.
Mr. Leach.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Patty, thank you for jumping in and bringing us the perspective that you do. Everyone is saying it's being sold, including you. So what action have you taken since 24 when these are actively being sold? You just said yourself that you've walked in smoke shops and you've seen them. What is not you, but what is your industry doing to stop it and put it where it's supposed to be according to the dispensary people?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Leach, the underlying problem is enforcement. Local law enforcement needs money and needs support in order to go enforce this. We have been working for years fighting these bills and putting forth a solution that enforcement dollars are needed. I've worked on getting some additional appropriations that are specific for this. I've worked on using the marijuana money that is there to be used for enforcement, but anything in Prop 207 requires a 3/4 vote, and it's been ruined by these conversations of hemp versus marijuana instead of getting illicit drugs out of reach of children.
Madam Chair, Pele, I just find it interesting that someone that is so closely tied to that industry, and you and I have talked about this industry, the marijuana side of the industry, a lot. But I just find it interesting. Literally, until I got deluged with phone calls and emails, granted, I'm not going into liquor stores, I'm not going into smoke shops, and I'm not being exposed to it. But I didn't know that it was a problem and I didn't know the extent of the problem actually until I'm sitting in this committee. I find it interesting that as you present the issue being as big and as harmful as it is, why the legislature hasn't taken action on that. That's not requiring an answer, but if you wish to comment, Madam Chair Pele, please do.
Senator Bullock, Senator Leach, I welcome the legislature's support in getting some dollars for enforcement. And, you know, it's not just hemp, it's other synthetic substances. I've been communicating with poison control over the years. There is a huge problem with children especially getting their hands on these drugs, or whatever you want to call them. And Arizona has a loophole, has a market that is letting it go wild instead of shutting it down.
Okay.
I don't think the answer is selling more of the products.
To that point, Madam Chair, there are other avenues than law enforcement going around and checking the many. You have constitutionally guaranteed marijuana in the Constitution. And so if your industry thinks that it is unlawful, there's other ways than sending police out to police the problem. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, Ms. Epstein.
Great, thanks. Thanks for being here, Pele. My main goal, as I've stated many times, is safety. Children's safety is especially important. I want to see these things regulated because I've had constituents tell me about it. It's a huge problem. And so we don't have the police to enforce it. So how is it that I guess the first question is, these products could be sold legally in a dispensary now, or they cannot be sold legally in a dispensary now?
Madam Chairman, Senator Epstein, they can and are sold legally in a dispensary currently.
Okay. So what we have is this proliferation of them being sold in so many other places, and it's weird to me that all these store owners are selling something that they know is illegal. I think the problem is they don't know. They're saying, well, I'm going to read this part of the law and say it's okay for me to sell them. And we're just waiting for a court case to prove that. Is that somewhere near accurate?
Chairman, Senator Epstein, the AG's office recently put out an opinion clarifying the difference between our hemp statutes and our marijuana statutes, and anything containing an intoxicating amount of THC is marijuana. Right now there is nothing unclear in Arizona about where these products lie.
One last question. So, I don't know if you're the one to ask, but you know a lot of things. So, Department of Liquor, it seems like since some of these are being sold in places that are selling alcohol, and therefore there's a liquor license there, is this something that the Department of Liquor can enforce just to say, stop doing it, your liquor license doesn't allow you to sell these, and they are against the law? So could the Department of Liquor right now just ban them?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Epstein. Yes, in fact, the Department of Liquor has sent out memos saying that they are not permissible. The Department of Ag has sent out memos saying they're not permissible, which regulates the industrial hemp side of things. We have been working on enforcement dollars as well. The governor's budget includes some money for enforcement. If we could get a 3/4 vote, I would love to just give our marijuana tax money for enforcement, but that's going to require a 3/4 vote. And I can talk more about the taxes, but that wasn't asked of me.
Okay. Mr. Fernandez.
Okay, actually, can you talk about the taxes, how that would change?
No, not today.
No?
No.
Yes.
It's just part of the bill, though.
Yes, it definitely is.
I'm sorry,
That's-
I did not mean to do that.
Then we're going to have to bring everybody else back up, probably. That's
All right.
fine. I'll give you 2 minutes.
Okay, I can do it faster than that. Senate Bill 1556 imposes minimal tax on these beverages. As you can see, they're, you know, offsetting in order to not have a revenue and have to have a higher vote count. Marijuana is taxed both TPT and a 16% excise tax on all products. So a back in the number calculation for equivalent volume, their wholesale tax would be about 56 cents, where our retail excise tax would be almost $2. And in the marijuana excise tax, that money is fully used to operate all of the marijuana programs. No general fund dollars are used to regulate it. And then the revenues directly benefit community benefits such as community colleges, public safety initiatives, justice reinvestment funds. And so the tax on these is completely not even close to equivalent.
Ms. Epstein.
Madam Chair, I want to think aloud a little bit and have you respond if you can, Pele. I feel like this has always been an enforcement problem, and I'm wondering that with the revenue being neutral on this bill, you know, maybe this is a question for Steve, but how do we expect the enforcement to be any better if it's, you know, just feels like it's an enforcement problem. In the marijuana dispensary regulations, they have higher taxes and therefore could potentially be used to enforce, but it's not.
Chairman Bullock, Representative Epstein, I think you're exactly right. I have talked to the proponents of the bill and suggested that they have some taxes to go towards enforcement and community benefit. That was not included in the bill. Furthermore, I don't want to speak for them, but they've told me that they have their own, you know, liquor control that goes out. But, you know, they issued a memo saying these aren't allowed to be sold, and I don't see them enforcing it from being sold. So I don't know what the capacity of their officers are. I don't know how many of them they have. You'll have to ask. I don't know that much about the Department of Liquor.
Thanks, Pele. We're gonna bring Barclay back up to answer your question.
Up goes the chair. Madam Chairman, Senator Epstein, would you repeat the question so I've got to clear my mind?
I think, Madam Chair, Steve, it seems like what we have is an enormous enforcement problem in Arizona. So if we were to pass all of this, we still have an enforcement problem about how they're sold. You know, what's to stop these products still being sold along with the new products with the new labels, and these new products follow the law, these old products don't follow the law. They're selling everything, and they don't care because there's nobody to enforce it. So how are we going to improve enforcement?
Excellent question, Madam Chair. Senator Epstein. Don't like to disagree with my friend Pele, but she's wrong about the department's, what they put out as an advisory memo. They said they don't have jurisdiction because it's not alcohol. Their jurisdiction ends with alcohol, begins and ends with alcohol. They don't have jurisdiction over other products. This would give them that very thing. This would give them the jurisdiction to interdict in those situations. They'd have the ability to issue cease and desist orders. They would have the ability to have licensed law enforcement officers, which they have on, you know, as part of the department. They have, you know, gun-toting law enforcement officers that can go in and they can stop things. They have the ability, under the statutes that we added hemp beverages to shut down unlicensed premises that are selling either, you know, spirituous liquor or adult hemp beverages. They would be able to enforce the rules like they do to stop online shipments in that bypass the three-tier system. They would have the authority to do things that they do not have today. And, Madam Chair, Senator Epstein, what we put in the bill, and we're certainly willing to discuss this further with you all, is we put in $1 million for the Department of Liquor to give them some money because they're going to need to have some additional resources to do this enforcement, and we want them to do this properly. And so we put that in there. That comes out of the licensing fund, so it's not a direct hit on the general fund. They collect licensing fees. They'd be able to keep $1 million of that and use that to take on these additional responsibilities, which very importantly include enforcement duties. I've had multiple conversations with Director Henry and his team about this. And they'll do what you ask them to do, of course. And they're like, if we have the resources, yes, we can take this on.
Are you okay?
That's good.
Great.
Thank you.
Mr. Barclay. Want to move on to Shannon?
Yes, Madam Chair, Shannon Whitaker. For the bill, representing the Hemp Trade Association. As soon as you identify yourself and all the rest of that, I'll start the timer.
Shannon Whitaker, I'm here with Garrison 48. This doesn't stop. Representing my client, the Hemp Industry Trade Association. I just started representing them. I haven't got the name down yet. But I'd like to start off with everybody noting for the record that Paley did say that the Department of Agriculture is responsible for regulating industrial hemp. So I'm just put that on the record for now, because might be back next week. So we're in full support of this bill. We're promoting these regulations because they ensure the protection of children while also supporting an industry that can significantly contribute to our economy. This bill not only supports the growing hemp beverage market, but it also proposes placing hemp beverages under the appropriate jurisdiction, man, it's been a long day, jurisdiction of the Department of Liquor. So there was a lot of questions up here about what the Department of Health Services does versus the Department of Liquor. If these products were illegal, the Department of Health Services is able to go and send a cease and desist order right now. So I just wanted to put that in here with my experience with the department. The support for the stakeholders for this bill, it highlights the progress in the evolution of the hemp industry since the Arizona Industrial Hemp Program was initiated in 2018 by the Farm Bill that everybody's been discussing about. Next week, we look forward to possibly presenting our bill that will actually, it's going to codify and regulate industrial hemp where it is right now with the Farm Bill at the Department of Agriculture. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Shannon?
Yeah, me please.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So I'm looking at a memo right now from the Liquor Board, and it says, due to the TTB prohibition, a licensee may not purchase or resell products containing a controlled substance. Doing so may violate federal law, as well as ARS 4225A, as it relates to food safety and federal preemption regarding controlled substances. I feel like, and I could be wrong, but I feel like the Liquor Control Board is saying that these are currently illegal. I mean, do you disagree with that?
Madam Chair, Senator, I think that's a better question for Steve Barclay. If you can, he knows that he's actually working with the Department of Liquor. I'm not. I'm working with the Department of Agriculture on our bill. I'm here to support the bill because I think that these beverages with hemp should be at the Department of Liquor because it is a beverage. So I apologize. I don't have that answer for you right now.
That's fine.
Did you want me to bring up Steve again?
I mean, I hate to have him get up
He
and
loves
down.
getting up and down.
Does he?
At this point.
Steve?
He likes moving the.
Okay. And note this drink I'm drinking is not THC.
Madam Chair, Steve Barclay, for the record, would you please repeat the question, Senator? I was unfortunately distracted
Yeah, no
at the time.
problem. So this is a memo from the Liquor Board. It says, due to the TTB prohibition, a licensee may not purchase or resell products containing a controlled substance. Doing so may violate federal law, as well as ARS 4225A, which I'm not familiar with that one, as it relates to food safety and federal preemption regarding controlled substances. Isn't the Liquor Control Board saying in this memo that this is currently not lawful?
Madam Chair, Senator Fernandez, that's not how I believe they're interpreting it, and nor is it how the industry is interpreting it. The department has, to my knowledge, done nothing to stop these products. I think it's a question, is that a controlled substance? And I think that's the issue. And so that's, my understanding is that they haven't been doing anything. They're, the companies that are licensees, have gone to the department and talked to them about it, the retailers that are carrying these products, and they've talked to them about it, and they're being, open and transparent about the fact that they're selling these products, and the department has not raised any concerns that I'm aware of.
So, Madam Chair, just a question for anybody. Is THC not a controlled substance? I don't, it's a real question, I don't know.
Anybody want to answer that? That's here to speak?
I didn't hear the question.
Haley's raising her hand.
Haley's got her hand up.
Yes.
Am I excused?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman Bullock,
Steve.
Representative Fernandez, THC is 100% a controlled substance, both under federal and state law.
But I mean, so I'm really confused. So if the Liquor Control Board, and I'm not saying anyone is being not truthful here, let's be clear. But if the Liquor Control Board isn't
Keeping me awake.
telling people that they, if people are going, that are retailers currently selling this, are going to Liquor Control Board and saying, hey, I'm selling this, and then whatever question or, comment they have after that, and Liquor Control Board isn't stopping them, I mean, is that implied consent in terms of like, yes, this is okay? Or, why are they not saying, hey, don't do that?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Fernandez, I don't know if we have anyone here from the Liquor Board, but I think they would be in the best position to answer these questions. I would never want to pontificate about what the board is or isn't doing, or whether they have the resources to do certain things or not. I think that's for them to answer.
Okay.
Mr. Carroll.
Madam Chair, let's see. Do you want to make a comment to?
I do, sir.
All right, go ahead.
Madam Chair, Senator Fernandez, the Farm Bill actually removed THCs derived from hemp from any controlled substances list, including the Schedule I substance list.
Okay.
You good?
Well, apparently not. Okay.
It's not going to go back and forth like this, because we have one more speaker or two. Sure.
10 seconds.
Yep.
Chairman Bullock, members of the committee, Arizona has different hemp laws on its books than the federal Farm Bill. Our hemp law is different than the federal Farm Bill. Under Arizona law, our controlled substance laws, our marijuana laws, and our hemp laws, THC is a controlled substance and is only, in intoxicating amounts, more than trace amounts, is only allowed to be regulated under the marijuana department at the Department of Health Services.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I have one more question for Pele.
Sure.
I forgot to, wait, Pele, I have another question for you. I
Haley,
forgot
you
to
don't
ask
get to sit
earlier.
down. Come on back up.
The same question that I asked
Follow the
Laura,
rules.
You said 10 milligrams was the cap for the product, meaning one gummy, but how many gummies could I purchase in one package from a dispensary?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Ortiz, it's 10 milligrams per serving size, 100 milligrams total. And the only reason I brought that up is originally when this idea was getting proposed, it was for low dose. And one of the earlier speakers talked about low dose. 10 milligrams is not a low dose or a microdose by any means.
Madam
It's the
Chair?
maximum amount.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Pele, for that. Would you agree that it's my responsibility as a consumer to determine how much I can consume responsibly?
Chairman Bullock, Senator Ortiz, there's mandatory state laws that are voter protected that says how much you can put in THC can go into a package or a serving size. That's a law that's on the books currently.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Who will we bring up? Steve again? We have one more speaker.
We got one more speaker.
It doesn't hurt to
What's
bring
the
Steve
question?
up, I guess, if you like, why not? But
Hey.
the
Yeah. We were
get
getting
on
ready
with
to
it.
bring up Brett.
just to the point of my highly esteemed colleague who made the statement that it's my responsibility as a consumer to determine how much I can consume safely. These products that cause intoxication are different from other products. So you can determine your own, of course, ability of how many green beans can you eat, how many hot dogs can you eat, whatever you want to consume. Go ahead, and we don't regulate. We say, if you want to buy all the green beans in the store and consume them on the spot, you can do that. We don't regulate it. It's not our laws. But our laws around products that cause intoxication do take a look at how intoxicated can you get, and that's why we have laws that say you cannot be overserved, so that you won't go out and
To
drive.
that point, Madam
So
Is there a
Chair.
question?
I just want to explain, if I may, I'm sort of testifying because I've been studying liquor laws for quite some time, and I just want to explain that is the history of products that make you intoxicated. They are different from other products, and our laws should make sure that society is protected as well as the consumer themselves I don't know what the right dose is in here, and I want people to be able to make their own decisions about how much they can have. Absolutely, make your own decisions about that. But the amount of the serving size does matter because, you know, as just an example, I've heard so many anecdotes of people who said they ate a whole gummy and whoa, was more than they ever thought. They thought that was one serving, and that was not one serving for them. So our laws on products that make you intoxicated are different from our laws on other kinds of products, and we just have to consider it. Just putting it out there.
I wish people would eat more green beans.
That would be good.
Mr. Carroll.
Okay, it would just, I'm gonna call it the next
Cool.
test witness. Brett Meekum, and I know you're gonna be very brief here, so, and next time when I organize this, I'll make sure we take in the height consideration so we don't give the table such a workout. But go ahead, sir, you say your name for the record, and you got 2 minutes.
Thank you. For the record, Brett Meekum, Cadmus Public Affairs, representing my client, GR's Cannabis. We rise in respectful opposition to Senate Bill 1556. The bill itself, as you've seen, is over 100-page long. To me, nothing says government efficiency like a bill that's over 100 pages. So I guess we're in the right committee. For clarification, hemp is cannabis. As a good friend of mine, and you all know him, former Senator Sonny Borelli would say that it's rope, not dope. Well, today we are talking about how we regulate hemp as dope. Another colleague of yours has shared with me that Luke Air Force Base, the airmen there, some of them have used such similar products, failed their drug tests for having THC in them. As you heard my colleague from the ADA talk about, that this does circumvent the Voter Protection Act. We believe that this should be regulated under DHS, under the statutes the voters passed with the Marijuana Act, as THC is THC. You heard a previous speaker mention that they have been dealing with the Department of Agriculture on a regulatory regime for hemp. This bill deals with the Department of Liquor. How many regulatory regimes does the state of Arizona need to regulate THC products? We have it at the Department of Health. You've also heard some discussion about the Attorney General's opinion. I think it's important to note that the Speaker Pro Tem, as well as the current Speaker of the House on the other side, were the two members that requested that AG's opinion, and she did say that these products across the board are all illegal, and that, you know, the right way to solve this, again, is enforcement dollars. From my minor access concerns, the dispensaries, we have to keep our products at our dispensaries 500 feet away from schools. How far do grocery stores have to be away from schools? How about smoke shops? How about convenience stores or liquor stores? And also from a regulatory oversight, again, there's been debate on whether this bill is revenue neutral or not. I think from a process standpoint, this is a bill, and I know I have several members of the Senate Appropriations Committee up here today. I think this is a bill that also should be scrutinized by the Appropriations Committee of this chamber, as it does deal in appropriations.
You've reached time on your brief statement, so.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah,
Mr. Fernandez.
yeah, thank you. Mr. Meekum, do you think that this is something, I mean, and I asked this question before, that we can just pass to the marijuana law, essentially, that they just control this, and they would still be able to be clear, I don't know what the correct term would be, but licensed establishments that are outside of just dispensaries to sell these products. The question being, let me be clear, would it cut off that level of commerce? Would they not be able to sell them in liquor stores at Total Wine if we did that?
Brett.
Madam Chair, Senator Fernandez, I do think that this should be addressed by the legislature, but under the marijuana statutes, what that looked like would be up to the legislature and how they would do that and get the 3/4 vote to pass such changes, and also changes that would further the act. I know that's not a direct answer, but again, you sitting in the committee are the policymakers on this and how it best should be addressed. We just kind of come and argue the points to you.
Thank you, Mr. Meekum. We were going to bring up Senator Shope for closing out Senate Bill 1556.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that was great. Yeah. I think I mentioned at the very beginning there was going to be some agreement here today, and there's agreement that there needs to be some regulation placed on these items. I told you at the very beginning of this that perhaps we are, not in agreement with what that looks like, but that would be the end result. I do want to say that the absence of this body, though, stepping forward to do anything on this right now means that these items continue to be sold with zero guardrails in place to do so. Now, we can talk about whether the Attorney General has issued an opinion on these, and I've seen Attorney Generals from both parties over the years refer to themselves as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the state of Arizona. Their officers are not going into these stores to remove these items, even though their own opinion claims potentially that they're illegal. So that's not happening here, which means they're going to continue to be sold. I would say, if they are generally, and we've heard a little bit about funding, happy to talk about funding and stuff like that. But the reality is you make an example out of one entity, generally in the marketplace corrects itself. They're not going to be doing illegal activity. That has not happened here. I don't foresee it happening here because that takes a little bit of political will and a little bit of the understanding that you are going to experience extreme blowback for pulling something off of the market that people are enjoying currently. I recognize that there are no guardrails in place, which is why I bring the regulation for all of us to discuss. This is the place for that. Putting this with the Department of Health, I've heard that today. No law enforcement authority within the Department of Health. You have to go out and find that law enforcement authority or ask somebody to take it on for you. That's not going to happen unless we're going to authorize a police force for the Department of Health. That's probably not happening. So I ask you, we heard a little bit about Congress and things, what they're doing potentially. The reality is, I don't care what party's in the majority. I do care what party's in the majority, but the reality is, we know that not much happens in Washington, D.C., okay? So I ask all of you to do what we do on a regular basis here, and that's everything that Washington, D.C. doesn't do, which is continue conversation, make sure we actually pass things that make sense, and I ask you to work together, work with me. You have ideas, bring them to me. Be a part of the solution here that, as mentioned, has zero guardrails in place. I can walk out of this place, and after this committee hearing, maybe I will, and go pick up a can. Or I might just take Mr. Leach's, I'll just, although he may have given his away. He's addicted to Diet Coke anyway, so it's fine.
Who knows what's inside?
Just the can.
Just the can, just the can. But we can sit around and talk about how we don't have concrete answers to things, or we can create the concrete answers to this. And I ask you all to help me create the concrete answers that will put the proper guardrails in place of a product that's already being sold in the state, and I don't foresee, and I'm sure you don't foresee it, being pulled off the shelves by anybody at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Shope.
115,000 miles. That's all I got to say.
Of what? What's that?
We good? Okay.
Madam Chair, can I just ask a question of the sponsor?
Sure.
Since he's here?
One question.
Yeah, no, just one question. The last time that I remember that Arizona legalized something that was just being done was marijuana, and we did it, but we did it in a very deliberate way. We went to the voters, we asked them. They created this gigantic bureaucratic system, which I guess was justified. Do you think that just shortcutting this is the way to go and say, well, you're doing it already, so let me just wave you in. Now you're doing this legally.
Madam Chair, Mr. Fernandez, I appreciate that you think that the voters read every single page of the 20-some pages that measure had in it. I'd highly doubt that. I'm sure colleagues of mine don't read every bill that comes across. So asking the voters to understand everything that was part of that, no, I don't know that that's realistic. I do think, though, that in this sense, we have, if I will cede to you, maybe on just for the sake of argument here, that perhaps where you're going, is this illegal? Because I've heard you ask a couple questions about it under the current law. Well, if it is, who's doing anything? I think it exists in a gray area right now. And if it doesn't, then why isn't it being pulled off the shelf? If it was as clear as day, as black as this counter, it would be pulled off the shelf immediately. and people would understand, and an AG or a sheriff or a county attorney would be able to go back and face the same voters that instituted that law and say, I'm doing exactly what you told me to do by regulating this item. That's not happening.
Thank you, Mr. Shope. Okay, Mr. Carroll.
Madam Chair, I move that Senate Bill 1556 with a do pass recommendation.
Seeing there are no amendments, will the secretary please call the roll?
Explain my vote.
Sure.
Thank you, Senator Shope, for sponsoring this enormously tangled bill, and for all of the lobbyists who have worked on it and stakeholders. This clearly we have an enormous need. It's a big problem, and we need to do something about it. So, doing something is way better than doing nothing. I am very concerned about the dosage. I think buying one, if this can were to hold 10 milligrams, I think that that's a little, I would either like it to be a smaller dose or just a better warning. So I'm going to take a look at the labels, information in the bill to see what we can do about that. A bigger warning that just says, you should know, this is going to put you out, if that's the case. So that's my concern with it. From what I can tell so far, Department of Liquor Control has the better enforcement process in place than DHS does. And as I recall, DHS has never wanted to do enforcement, and that's kind of been a problem. So, but Department of Liquor, that's their job. And I have spoken to people who have liquor licenses who guard their liquor license very closely and will not violate any laws because that liquor license is worth a lot of money to them, and they do not want to risk it. So I think the Department of Liquor might be a sensible place. I'm still listening, so going forward, today I'm a yes. I will talk with the various sponsors about maybe a stronger label for that dose, because 10 milligrams does seem awfully high from what I learned today. So yes for today. Let's keep on working, and I'm still listening. Anybody else who wants to talk to me?
Pass.
Sweat my vote.
Yes.
It's interesting to sit in, not a user. I inhaled once. I fell asleep before the Cheetos. And that was a long, long time ago. I've heard today.
I'm as old as you are, so.
I've heard today that Department of Liquor should have this. I've heard today that Department of Ag, I guess my friend and cohort Senator Gowan is running a bill for Department of Ag. I've heard Department of Health all running. I've also heard that what is going on is illegal. That tells me that a yes vote is required, because we clearly don't have a way forward at this point. But a no vote just puts it in the circular can or the shredder, in which there's no more discussion until we get out of here, whenever we get out, and maybe something will happen over the interim. I think by having this today, everybody pretty well knows where everybody's coming from. Not that you didn't before, but you have an opportunity, and now it's on record. You can replay the tape if you want to watch a tape that's 2 hours long or an hour and a half long. But I would encourage you, you've heard everything now. Go back. There's smart people in here on both sides, on all 3-4 sides of the issue. Get it worked out, and so we come back to Cal and get a bill. And so we get a bill that the governor will sign, and get some direction here. And with that, I vote aye.
Madam Chair, may I?
Absolutely.
I think it's important, similar to what Senator Leach said, about making sure that there are regulations here around products that are already being sold. I also want to stress that earlier I was not equating marijuana to green beans. I was, in my mind, equating marijuana to alcohol and the way that we regulate alcohol. And I don't think we would be having, you know, this intensive a discussion all the way down to how much is in each drink. Because I do think that consumers have a certain responsibility when they are purchasing these products to, as we always see on the commercials, drink responsibly. And for those folks that work in these industries, they know how to make sure that children aren't taking these off the shelves and purchasing them. Do we need to have some better labeling? Maybe. I think that's something we can talk about. But I don't think that that is reason enough to shut down a bill of this nature that is going to put common sense regulations around a product that is widely used and widely wanted by the general public. So with that, I vote yes.
Pass.
Madam Chair, thank you.
Go ahead.
She said no.
I didn't say no. I just smiled at him.
Yeah. I actually don't want these products to be outlawed in any way, and I want the commerce to continue. I do think that there's probably a better way of doing this. I'm not crazy about the marriage that whoever came up with this of you know, one drink just because they've been wanting to get a lower tax rate, which everyone wants lower taxes, decides to use this as their vehicle to get in there, and that's fine. I mean, we do a lot of these little, you know, insider deals every year. But I would like to figure out a way for us to tax this responsibly and understand that we do need to have regulation on this and safety. And I'm right now I'm going to be a no, but I hope that we can continue working on this.
Aye.
Madam Chair,
Absolutely.
I'm just going to be really brief on this. A lot of great opinions that were presented. A lot of thought to consider here, and as with opinions, they're not right or wrong, they're just to be considered. I think the bill sponsors are doing a great job about being open to continuing the discussion. I did text my spouse and tell her to go over to Total Wine and pick up my non-THC order before, just in case they get closed down. And I will be yes today.
Well, thank you for everybody that came in to hear this important bill. Obviously, for the last couple of years, they've been trying to figure out a way to regulate this and put some guardrails up. Kudos to the sponsor for enduring sitting here for some of his bills this afternoon. As a parent of kids who are now 20 and 22, it's kind of crazy for me to think that down in Tempe, my kids could just walk into a coffee shop, obviously, my daughter who's 20, and potentially get this, probably without even getting carded. I have no idea. To Mr. Fernandez's point earlier, we used to take our kids traveling all over the world. Most European countries, you can basically get away with doing probably anything you want to do, probably THC, alcohol-wise, and America's a little bit different. Obviously, now we have an age for vaping at 21. I disagreed with that at the time, whenever Trump did that in his last administration. Obviously, we want to make sure things are safe, and we should have certain protocols that we're following. Right now, none of that is happening. There's no enforcement. There's no teeth. I don't like the idea that I potentially would walk into a Total Wine store and see the products there. I've not been into a Total Wine store in a while, so I might take a field trip over the next couple of days. Hey, it's Statehood Day tomorrow and Valentine's Day, so maybe I'll go today after this meeting if we get out here on time. But I personally think that the way forward is to keep working together. Obviously, not everybody agrees. You don't always get what you want. There's a lot of heartburn being in this place. And today I will vote aye to ensure that the senator can continue working with hopefully both sides to ensure we are actually getting the bill that we really need up on the floor and then over to the House.
6 ayes, 1 nay, and 0 not voting.
By your vote of 6 ayes, 1 no, and 0 not voting, you have given Senate Bill 1556 a due pass recommendation.